Did I see a bust in that screen already? Already? Crack in it. There's a crack. I think mine like that is laying on my desk before I went to office. Yeah, don't bother calling me on that refund, that's somehow like World War III or something. Mr. Loftus, are you not looking a lot like anything else? So, gotta get the laps on that, don't I?
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting of the Murray County Board of Education to order. Members, you've got a copy of the agenda for this evening. We've got just the one item, the millage rate. So, do I have a motion we approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Motion by Brenda,
Second.
seconded by Kelly, all in favor? It is approved. Real quickly before I turn everything over to Mr. Lothridge, some of you may be here tonight for the gym discussion. We are not discussing the gym tonight. That is on the agenda for tomorrow night's work session, so you're more than welcome to come back then. If you want to discuss it, you can be on the public participation. I think Danielle will have a form where we can sign you up for that. But tonight is just the public hearing on the millage rate. So want to make that known. Also, we asked that, I know a lot of y'all have been here before in the previous meetings we've had. If you've got new information, then by all means, we want to hear it. But we don't want to rehash old stuff. So, new, more than welcome to make that known tonight. And also, I do ask that if you do, when somebody is speaking, please do not interrupt them. Last time, there was a couple of times that people were talking over each other, and it's hard to keep track of what people are saying and try to understand. So we ask that when somebody's talking, please be courteous enough to let them finish their thought or whatever they've got. So we do ask that. So at this time, I'm gonna turn it over to Mr. Lothridge.
Okay, well, we're glad that you're here because we have the same presentation that we have, that we went over, first time, and I will be glad to, if anyone's here that hasn't seen that, I'll be glad to go over that in regard to the need to maintain the millage rate at the same rate at 15.5 mils, which it has been for 22 years. Would y'all all be glad to go over that if anyone would like to see that again, or what? Because it's the same as you can see. Yes.
Are y'all streaming this tonight? again?
Yes,
Okay.
we stream all board meetings, we have for the last several years, it's a requirement that regardless of whether it's a work session or a regular board meeting, they're all live streamed, and they can be accessed on our website, so we've been doing that for about 2 years now. With that being said, does anyone have any? Yes.
Steve, I'd like to just go ahead and cut through the chase, and Mr. Shoemaker, I'm not gonna bring up anything I've done in the last meetings that I was here before. The thing I would like to say, and I think things happen for a reason, okay? I think that we're having to go through this, and for you guys up there that's had to endure this, you know, you guys have had to take a lot of heat. You know, as well as Steve, you know? But I'm gonna ask again that the millage rate be reduced to 14.5%. And I'm gonna ask one other thing. You know, I've done a lot of thinking since this whole thing started. You people up here, I've been looking at the wrong person. I've been looking at Steve. But the 7 of you guys that's sitting up there, you guys are the ones that are accountable to the people sitting out here that voted you in. My question to you, and if I'd like to just go down the road just a second, I promise we won't last long on this. Aaron, how many people in your district have you talked to about this? Besides your family?
4 or 5.
4 or 5. And what was their response?
About 50-50.
So 50% of them, 2 of them said, go for it, 2 of them said no. Dwayne,
2.
you talked to 2 people.
Yes.
Gail, how many of you talked to?
I've talked to a lot.
And what were their comments?
Lower it. We need some help.
Greg, did you talk to anybody in your district?
I've talked to them, I think, 2.
Okay. Kelly, did you talk to anybody?
Probably about 4 or 5, and it was about 50-50.
Greg, or, Conrad?
I probably talked to 2 or 3, and all of us for lowering it.
I talked to a bunch and they were all for lowered.
See, I think you guys, if you cannot tell by the last meetings that we've had, this is a serious, serious issue for people. And you got a budget of $74,600,000. You got $13 million in reserve. That's a budget. That's access to $88 million.
No, that's not right, it doesn't.
How much is that? 74 plus 8 plus 13, how much?
But it doesn't work that way. There's
Why does it not work that way? When you add it up,
Because you don't have access to all that money at one time, it comes in.
did y'all understand that? Did y'all have access to it? You do understand that? Okay, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna tell you don't have 80.
So how much access do you have?
It depends on the month.
Depends on the month?
Average.
Okay. All right, let's just cut it to 80 million. Whatever, okay? If we can't find $1 million for this year, then if you can't find it, I would ask those people to find it. Because I don't care if you take 500,000 out of the budget and 500,000 out of reserve. If we can't find $1 million out of what we got, we need somebody that can, is the way I look at it. And again, you know, I just, everybody I've talked to, and most of them are older, one income or fixed income, they're struggling. And I'm just telling you guys, you have a chance to walk out of here tonight a hero in people's eyes in this county. And you need to understand, I think you do, because y'all voted him in, or you elected him or whatever. But you guys are the boss. he works for you. And to me, it's okay if you don't vote yes. I mean, if you look at the people in this room and people that you've talked to in this community, I just think it ain't that hard if you had to do it. And I think it's the right thing to do. I think that it happened because it gives you a chance to do the right thing for people in Murray County. And that's my feeling about it. And I know we're trying to talk about the millage rate, I think I'm not going any other direction. Because to me, that's the most important. And I told you, and I'll do the same thing I told you the other day. I will pay my rate that was already set with an increase, if you reduce the rate to 14.5 for everybody else. And I guarantee you, there's other people in this room that would do the exact same thing. And you walk out of here a hero, they walk out of here a hero, and everybody's a winner. That's my thing.
Randy, I couldn't have said it better. There are, for me, I'm here for two different reasons. One is for the folks that this is really gonna affect. But I'm also here because you're getting a vote of no confidence from your constituents right now because of the way you voted last time. The way you voted last time has put distrust in your constituency. We are a democratic republic government. You are elected representatives of the people to speak for the people. The people are telling you, reduce the millage rate. If you don't listen, shame on you.
And if you don't, I promise you, I'm gonna do everything in my power to see everybody votes yes, removed from the seat that you're sitting in. All the way down to if I have to move districts, cause two people are living in the same district, so I can run personally. And I believe I know enough people.
Can I say something? This is a crowd, and we're here for the millage rate. But I have a question. How many of you come monthly to a board meeting to see where the money is spent each month and how the budget is assessed and what is having to be spent monthly? This is a great crowd, but you hear about the millage rate. But there's a board meeting once a month. Well, there's really two. There's the work session and the regular board meeting. And if you're that concerned, I feel that you should be here monthly to see exactly what is being spent and where it's being spent.
I had
I don't really
a
have
few
anything
things
to-
I wanted to say, but I wanna address that first. When you guys ran for school board and came and sought out our votes, we put our confidence in you,
Right.
so we wouldn't have to be here to hold your hand through every board meeting.
Right.
When we put our confidence in you, it was there so that we trusted that you could make wise decisions on our behalf. But I got a few points I wanna make, if that's okay, and it's regarding the millage rate, to stay on topic. To echo what he said a minute ago, our elected officials are supposed to represent the desires and concerns of the constituents. As you can see, we're all just a little bit rubbed raw because of the way things are being done. You all come around, wanna put signs up, need our help, but now we're needing your help and you're turning your back. It is a shame that 2 or 3 people, most of you said I talked to 2, 4, that's a shame. Don't base the whole county on what a combined maybe 20 people had to say, cause we all know how that works. I'm gonna go to the people that I think most agree with me if I'm trying to build a cause. The other thing I wanna say is all this information, I don't have to go over it, it was passed out at the door, talking about raising or keeping the millage rates but not raising our taxes. I did a little figuring, and I think the public needs to know, just based on these millage rates. We was told at the last meeting these rates hadn't been raised in 22 years. Well, 3 years ago, if your house was valued at $200,000 in this county, you paid $1,240. on your tax. That same property at 15.5 mils, if your house is worth $375,000, now you're gonna pay $2,325. Now, I may not have a doctorate in education or mathematics, but I know that when the numbers go up, it's defined as an increase. So don't mislead us and tell us you're not raising our taxes, when in fact, by not rolling it back, you're raising our taxes. I won't even stick to the bottom point here, cause it wouldn't be keeping my word and it'd be off topic.
Anybody else?
Well, mine's probably not on topic, but it was mentioned, about cutting in the budgets. Well, I know, as I've said before, that the central office is stacked full of positions, and I am concerned about the budget because all the positions here is taken away from our schools. And we're worried about our test scores, regardless of what's said, Murray County test scores are on the bottom of our RISA district. If you don't know what that district is, it's Murray County, Whitfield County, Cherokee County, Gordon County, or not Gordon, Gilmer, and Pickens County. Gilmer County and Pickens County is over Murray County. So if we're worried about our budget, where our money's going, let's cut some of these positions, because right now, we have, oh gosh, how many positions at the central office? I have it down here. We have 14 directors outside of our assistant superintendent, our superintendent. Then we have 8 positions classified as specialists, coordinators, and supervisors, and they all have secretaries. You've got elementary schools sitting down here with kids, kindergarten through 6th grade, that these kids cannot read, these kids cannot do math, but yet we don't have an interventionist in those schools. We have one, and those teachers can only serve 7 segments a day. What do you think they're gonna do? If you wanna see the test scores go up, then do what you should do with the budget and put the money back in the schools, because when I taught, we had 6 to 8 EIP, Title I teachers, interventionists, whatever you wanna call it. Well, where's that money at now to support those teachers? Where did that go? That's what I'd like to know, and I have a lot more to say, but I won't say it because it has to do with this gym that we're building over here. When instead of putting that money in that gym, we should be putting it in that high school and renovating it for our students, not a gym.
Thank you.
Good job. We do have, there's one interventionist.
Per
budgeted,
school.
Not per school, but there's also numerous EIP teachers, as you quoted. There's
EIP teacher, Steve, I was an EIP teacher, and you know how many we had? Me. We had me. There is one interventionist, EIP teacher, Title I, whatever you wanna call it, there is one. Well, then your principals are lying to me. 'Cause
I'll
I've
have
talked
to
many.
back Nuveen on this, because my son has a 504 plan. He just had to go to the night school because he was not getting the interventions he needed. I had 2 meetings last year, his sophomore year of high school, and that was by my request, and no teachers knew what was going on with him. He has been failed along with all these other students.
It's been going on for a while. I even talked to you one day with Vicki Reed in my classroom and told you I needed an EIP position, and you told me we didn't have the funds for it, and that's back when Vicki was our superintendent. And I said, I need one of those, and you said, we don't have the money for it. And we had one at that time, and I've been retired since 2018. So the money needs to be put back into our elementary schools, it needs to be put back into our middle schools, into our high schools, and do what's right for our kids. We have kids that can't read, we have
You're
kids that can't do
absolutely right.
math,
We do.
and that needs to be stopped.
And we have spent more money per school in the last 3 years than we've
In the last
ever
3
spent.
years, but there was no money being spent on curriculum when I was there. All my money come out, all my curriculum come out of my pocket.
That's right, but that's not the case now. We spent, how much have we spent on curriculum total in the last 3 years? What, Kathy's over there. We're north
4
of-
million,
How much?
4 million.
$4 million. So that's going straight to the schools.
It should,
That's right, that's
it
where it's
should,
going.
but I don't,
So,
How many million does it take to get us from the bottom back at least toward the middle or upper?
you're looking at the bottom, and you can look at however you want to. I'll
Bottom's
show
the
you.
bottom, Steve, that's the bottom.
The bottom as a whole, but if you look at where we were 3 years ago, where were we 3 or 4 years ago? The bottom.
I've contacted
Who was
other
superintendent?
systems,
I was when
That's what I thought, I won't get that straight.
when I became superintendent, we
You
were
took
on,
it to the bottom.
no,
But we did.
we were on the bottom when we were.
I like it, sir. Don't you start arguing with me on that, Steve. We
hey,
might.
Listen.
what I do know is I have spoken with other systems, I've spoken with people within the system. I've been told we have one interventionist per school, and I do know that the other systems I've talked to, like Gilmer County and some of these counties that's above us, do you know what's different? They still hire parapros through their system. They also have, 6 to 8 interventionists that service their kids. And they are floored when I have said, we have one. And that's what we have. Regardless of what's said, that's what we have.
You say we have one interventionist.
Per
but
school.
Numerous, there are EIP, there are teachers throughout our.
What you're
system.
saying, let me tell you, I can clarify that for you. You're saying there's teachers that's titled EIP. I've been an EIP teacher too, a classroom EIP teacher. So my students were labeled EIP kids, and I served those 14 kids, and that was 14 back then, but it's my understanding now, we're just putting every how many we want to in the classrooms. But I had 14 EIP students, and I was classified an EIP teacher. I'm talking about the teachers that literally go into the classroom, pull these kids out, and work with these kids.
Then you're talking about pull out EIP.
I'm talking about EIP, pull out, Title I teachers, interventionists, whatever you want to call them. That's where we're missing our kids. That's where they're falling through the cracks.
Anybody else?
I hope, board members, I hope you've heard and really thought about what's been said. Because, I mean, people, I'm honest with you, I mean, these people are speaking from their hearts. I mean, and they're begging for help. And they're begging for y'all. And again, I'm telling you, it's not bad to admit mistakes have been made or whatever. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit if I make a mistake. But, and that's what I'm saying. I think a mistake was made last time. I think that you guys this can work to benefit not just the board, Steve, the school system. It's about all of it. It's all pulling together. And right now, everybody's pulling in a different direction. And, you know, from what you hear out here is teachers are fearful for their jobs. I mean, if they say anything, so, I mean, I'm just saying, I don't know if you're going out and talking, I mean, you can wink your eye if you want to, and smile and grin about it, but I'm just telling you.
It's the truth.
You know,
It's the truth.
people are concerned with what's going on. And
And a lot of
if you
people
get
feel
out,
like they can't speak up.
and if you get out and talk to the people in the community and truly listen to what people are saying, you know, I just don't think you can let people down that way that put their vote and put their confidence in you. From the board members to Steve, you guys are the responsibility to handle this school system. And, I mean, you know, that's the way I feel, that's from my heart, and I think every person in here that's spoken, means it the same way. And I'll be honest with you, I have more respect for somebody, if they've made a mistake, to say, I made a mistake, we probably need to look at this situation and redo it. It ain't gonna be bad, cause I'm gonna tell you, you guys walk out of here a winner, all the way down the line, if you'll listen to these people. Not just me, but there's 10 times this many people and more out in the community that feels the same way. If you could tell how many people are online, older people that are viewing this, that couldn't get here, that couldn't come. Talked to a 90-year-old lady. I talked to a man this afternoon that had cancer that's 76 years old. And I'm telling you, there's people out there that's struggling. And I've said all I'm gonna say. I've asked you to do what I think is the right thing to do. I've told you what I'll do. And I think it's the wise thing to do for everybody in the county. And for the board, for the communities, I think it's the right thing to do.
I got a question, and this ain't for you. I want each one of you up here, cause we voted for y'all. Tell me, or tell us, I say me, us, tell us why or why you don't support it. What's your thinking? Go right down the line. Why mismanaged it.
Please, let him finish.
Where's that at? Yeah, it went all the way down to $10 million, so I'd say that the first million was probably where we went 160 days. That was in 2010.
So that's when all the tax cuts started coming in from the state, and we were being furloughed and went to it.
Yeah. So we took it into shorts, and so when all that's happening, all that money's disappearing, it went all the way down to what? $10 million in 2016. So somebody had to go home. I mean, y'all talking about how we're doing a poor job and everything. Well, it takes 13 years to make a final product. So we're still living with some of the product that started out back there.
If you was in the marketplace, you'd fail on your products. How about your next one? Why do you support it?
Because we're talking about kids struggling and not learning and not improving. But I feel like if we do take money away, we're gonna, potentially have to, they get rid of some jobs.
Go back to what Lavina said. Where's the money going in classrooms? Paulding County a few years ago done a study across the United States looking at the money versus education. They found no correlation. What they figured out is the buildings don't matter. We're building these Ephesus. So we say, look what we got. But the people inside of them can't read and write. We've got issues. That's like a church building a building, saying, look at this big nice sanctuary we got, and a man across the road starving to death. So, money has nothing to do with if you're not applying it where it needs to go. What Paulding County did do is they started building their schools in pods, basically. And for 10 years straight, after they got it turned around, they was at the top. Go look it up. It's all library public information. They were at the top. You vote against it. How about you?
I'll tell you why I voted against it, because I had so many people contact me, and I'm older, I know what it's like. And I just felt like this is the only way that we can help the members of our community.
And on the
That was
other
my
side,
vote.
and go back what he said, I'll do what he does. I'll pay what I've already been billed. It ain't an issue. And thank you for that. But it's hard for me to believe, cause I'm getting phone calls about it, and I'm not even on the school board. But I am a GLP leader. It's hard for me to believe, you, and you, y'all need to talk to one or two people. Y'all need to talk to one or two people. If you only reached out to one or two people, that's a derelict of your duties. Especially when you're dealing with this kind of money. I spend anywhere, at my job, I spend anywhere from $500,000 to $1.5 million in any given week. And I have accountability. You know how much money I can spend without having somebody to approve it? And your approval committee, you need to understand that. I can spend $50. That's it. Everything else has to run through approval. Or I have to, when I quote stuff out, I do RSPs, put stuff out if it goes over a certain dollar amount. Y'all derelict of your duties. How about the next one? Shoemaker?
Because if you're gonna roll it back, your costs are not gonna, your health costs and all that, is not gonna go down. We all know it, it's very rarely is it gonna go down. Cost is always gonna, mostly gonna go up. You'll be lucky if it goes down.
So you budget your house this way?
No.
Well, why can't you budget
If
this
you'll
way
let me
like your house?
finish, please. So if we roll back and go back down more money, we're gonna be back in this same spot, or somebody is, the board is gonna be back, because they're gonna have to raise the millage rate again, whatever. And we're gonna do this whole thing again. Unless the tax assessors decide they just,
You know, it's sort of funny, when you got years of plenty, you're supposed to prepare for stuff and put back, and that's, once again, a derelict duty y'all haven't done it. Ms. Reed?
My simple thing is I have 2 children in the school system.
I've got 5.
But they're young, and I feel like so far they've gotten good education. They're where they need to be milestone wise. Teaching a child does not just happen in a schoolhouse. You have to do homework.
Oh, trust me, I know. I
You
got
have
many
to
years
teach your
talk.
children. It's not based on these principals and these teachers every day, great hours. So I think that, we do have, not saying you, but we have a lot of parents that don't take that responsibility. They think that their kids can just learn it within 7 or 8 hours a day, and that's not true. So before we go, I don't look at it as that we're at the top, we're at the bottom. We may be close to the bottom, but my kids are where they need to be academically, and that is because of me and their teachers and their school. But I will tell you, I'm with Greg, if we lower it, we're gonna be right back here in 2 years. Somebody is anyway.
Hey, what's gonna happen?
Somebody is, yeah.
Hey, it's gonna be somebody, all
But
right.
that's what I'm saying, so I am totally against it, so we can sit here and go, but my vote's not changing.
But on the other side of it, what happens if the splash don't pass?
Well, then we'll cross that bridge when we get there.
Cause, from my understanding, the way splashes is wrote up, and this is a little bit off subject, but it deals with the budget, millage rate and everything else.
We'll cross that bridge when we
If
get there, we're
splash,
not there
if
yet.
splash don't pass, construction has to stop on the gym, has to.
I've got a suggestion. We know from experience, from where we work at the Board of Commissioners of Whitfield County. And we know from experience, all of our counties are getting some big major grants. If they're still doing the grants, they apply for them every month. So we got grants coming into these different counties, and we got school taxes going on. Like they said, elderly people can't pay these taxes. Why can't they exempt the elderly once they start drawing Social Security, exempt them? And this might not be a popular thing, but if our county could go and give $1 million down there toward the railroad port to get water and everything else, why can't our county step in and say, okay, let us help share this load? You know, we're talking about rollback and all that, but all these people here, we all work, we all pay taxes. We're all limited. We have to eat, we have to buy gas, we have to take care of grandchildren. I don't have any kids in school now. All mine's been gone for a long time. And a lot of these people here, you know, they don't have kids in school, but they're still paying taxes. And then they have the increases, you know, let's get this passed, let's get that passed. And everybody in our counties are reaching to do. But there's something coming short somewhere, because when you go to figuring out all these other, you know, big counties like this, rolling back 8 and 10% to help the people, because people ain't getting no more raises. People's not making $50 an hour to be able to help cover everything that needs to be covered in the county. We know that there's grants that comes in and helps. You know, if they're in school, the kids are all there by 11 o'clock, they're gonna get rewarded these grants. So we know, you know, if we could just figure out a way to come together and agree and help one another in this, because this community, we need our school system for our kids and grandkids, but our school system needs to reach out and say, what can we sacrifice? You know, talk to the county, see what they can sacrifice. Just like when the 2-cent gas mileage rate, everything went in. We're gonna fix all these roads, we're gonna do all this. I don't know about y'all, but there's a lot of roads that ain't been fixed, and I know this is school. But there's a lot of things that the school can begin to consider, all these other areas where all this other income and millions of dollars are coming in. You know, everybody's on a salary, everybody's got bills, everybody's needing groceries, doctor bills. I mean, the story goes on, every one of us could write a picture about what we're having to pay out. And the economy's getting worse and worse, but local people, they can't afford and take no more increase. I mean, it's not fair for our elders, Vietnam people, and right on down the line, you know, they've served their time. They didn't hardly make money. They don't make what people make today. And when they get an $800 bill, and they're making $800, $900 a month, and they've got to live on that. Every one of us, will be honest with ourselves, we couldn't live with $800, $900 a month. I mean, this county is blessed. We've seen a big road, we've seen new schools go up, we've seen like College doing North Marion, we've seen a new work going over here and all these other schools. Now there's a few schools like Chatsworth Elementary needing playground areas and that kind of stuff, and them having to have donut sales and all these things, and trying to figure out how to, I think it needs to be spread out equal, but we need to come to an agreement conclusion somehow where the people can get a tax break and get a rollback, because time they pay everything end of the year, a lot of people don't have that kind of money by November the 1st and December the 1st, but there is money coming in to our counties, to our state, and our community. We know there's grants coming in. We need to check out and see where this money's going to, go to our commissioners and say, hey, you know, we understand y'all's helping, gonna give $1 million to the court down there and help get them, why not give $1 million to the school system? You know, if you need a raise, give a raise, but give these people a break, we need a break. We pay a lot of taxes, you know, it's hard, it's not cheap running farm, it's not cheap working every day. I'm fixing to come to retirement, but the way things is, ain't none of us gonna get to retire, you know, we'd like to, but we need to consider others, we consider our communities, our elders, and take care of them. Get them exempt from paying these taxes. Some of them on a budget, some of them don't even hardly have groceries. I mean, I don't think God's pleased with it, and I know, you know, we can't go back to where we come from, but we can't go forward if we don't have the means to go forward. We're gonna have to, you know, if we don't have it, why can't we draw the line for a while, you know, and take what you do have and give over here to Chatsworth Elementary, these schools that don't have things for the kids. Let's go to where the greatest need is. I mean, it's needful to build these fields and schools growing and all these things, but it's needful for the elders to be took care of too. It's needful for the children to be took care of. It's needful for everybody to be took care of. But there does need to be a rollback. There needs to be a consideration, you know, all this money coming in our state, in our community, in our county. We need to consider what we can do to help the people, because they need a break too. I mean, it's hard coming in here, you know, a lot of people don't have kids in school, and it's hard paying the highest tax there is, the school tax. And I appreciate your time, we pray for y'all pray for us, but there's gotta be a mediation somewhere in the middle and come into agreement. I mean, we could fight to midnight tonight, not get nothing solved. But if we'd be willing just to look out through all the budgets, tell the county commissioner, Greg Hogan and all of them, hey, we need some help. Let's see where we can work at this. You know, see how much extra money you got at the end of the year. We've now rolled into a new budget that's going on in most counties, most facilities and courthouses and systems, board of commissioners. You know, there's new budgets going in. We already got those budgets. But there needs to be another way for more money to come in besides trying to tax the people to death in school tax. We appreciate y'all and thank you for your time.
You do, I mean, you Whitfield County, you know, just the millage rate for schools in Whitfield County was 18.75. And our millage rate is 15.5. So our millage rate in Murray County is lower than, over 3 mills than what it is in Whitfield County.
And they have a whole lot
Higher
more.
than
Yeah, they have.
Tucson County, Gordon County, Whitfield County, and Dalton City. Murray County's is, we have only two systems, Whitfield and Gordon County are the only two counties that operate with a higher millage rate, and they operate more facilities, more schools than we do in Murray County.
In Dalton City, I mean, if you don't.
Their millage rate's what, 7.9?
No, but that's on 100% assessed value. Their equated value is over 20 mils. That's at 100% assessed value. So that equates to Dalton City Schools does not operate on 8 mils. It's over 20. Because they tax on 100% of the assessed value, so whereas here it's 40%.
But they voted to roll back, what, 7%?
No.
Or come back, yeah, they come back.
I don't know, I mean, they're
All
already
the
over
people
20 mils.
taxes,
so-
yeah, they come back and
Yeah,
then
you
roll
have-
back.
Yes, I did. I told myself I wasn't gonna say anything, but I felt like I have to. And part of this is in response to what Ms. Reed said. She said it's constant. There are so many parents in this community that are incapable at home.
Exactly.
Drug parents, parents in jail, children living with grandparents that can't barely read or write and see.
Come on.
Now, let me tell you something. Now, I take a little offense to what was said, personal offense. I was born to a parent that could not read or write. She was completely blind. My father died when I was 7 years old. Let me tell you, not one of my mother's 6 children did not go to college and become successful people. Not one. And that's what we all owe it to, dedicated teachers and a school system. It wasn't thousands and millions of dollars being thrown. It wasn't even hundreds at my time. But I'm telling you, it was people who had a calling and they answer that calling.
That's right.
So it kinda angers me personally when I hear how this thrown back at the parents,
Yeah.
because so often they can't. Now, I can tell you this, from my humble beginnings, I have two daughters with 2 master's degrees, both very educated. And all my grandchildren are honored graduates, are honored students, very intelligent people. And you couldn't come from more humble beginnings than I came from. And I would dare to say, quite a few people that made the money in this community came from that same kind of beginnings. Now, I would like to address your issue right here about the county. I am 100% against that. And the reason for that, if you will look at the Murray County job openings posted every now and then, seldom ever will you not find they're in need of firefighters. I'm just gonna throw this out here. I know it's not part of this, but we're talking about millage rates, okay? The county has rolled it back. Our 4 firefighters have a $1.8 million annual budget. The salaries are 1.4. They can't keep firefighters. Well, go look at the trucks they're driving. And we're talking county, not city, okay? Go look at the trucks they're driving. Look at their gear. Look at their gear. I'd rather see the county raising the millage rate and protecting our homes. Right now, some of the fire stations only have 1 person. 1 person per fire station. You tell me how safe you feel that investment in your home is. I think we've gotta get back to the basics. And it's not about just my little group, or this little group, or that little group, it's about us as a
Everybody.
community whole.
That's exactly what I say.
That's it. Thank you.
And I will go, like, kinda add on, like, I take offense to the comment about it's the parent's role. I have a master's degree, but in order to get that master's degree, I had to work day and night. I worked 7 days a week to get this master's degree. I couldn't come home and teach my son algebra, because I didn't know that algebra. I didn't know how to do that. That was his teacher's job. He did a wonderful job at Gladden Middle School, but once he got to high school, he got left behind because he wasn't catching up with everyone. So the teachers put their eyes on everybody else. They put their eyes on the people that were in the front row. So no, I didn't teach him at home with his algebra or his geometry, because I didn't have to have that. I didn't know what it was. So if the teachers wanna come to my house and teach me, by all means, I'll learn. But that's their job. And there's some wonderful teachers, but when it comes to right now, something's not right.
They need to do their job.
I don't think for a minute that there's not a teacher in our school system that is not passionate
I
about.
watch my wife and my son stay up all night while she's trying to teach him. I pay taxes so he can come to school, so he can learn. But I sure can't teach him that.
I'm with you, I'm with you.
And how to do it on the computer. If you wanna do everything on the computer, we don't need teachers. That's why it's a lot of money. You know,
So-
it's a sad situation.
So to kind of build on what you're saying there, ran into an instance, just give you an example of what we're dealing with. And by the way, Kelly, your argument for why you voted is the exact argument that Novina's trying to make for, we need IEP. We need intervention teachers.
And I honestly think if people was in here, knew this money was going to the teachers, that would change this, you wouldn't have this mess.
But talking about teaching your children at home, we don't have textbooks in our schools. Everything is curriculum papers or workbooks or stuff that may or may not make it home. But when a kid comes home with a problem, I have no frame of reference to understand what they're actually being taught. There's no textbook to work out of. So we've had to reach out to the teachers to get those resources. We reached out, the parent. Instead of a parent being able to go to a kid's book bag and pull out a textbook and say, what chapter are y'all on? All right, where are you struggling? This is what we have. And I understand textbooks get outdated, but every kid in the county's got a Chromebook. There are digital versions of textbooks. Now, aside from that, I wanted to hit on one of the things that you guys talked about, and it's one of the things that Conrad and myself have talked about, and that is dollars spent per child on education in our county versus other counties. And I have a question around that, and that question is, have we normalized those dollars spent by looking at the differences in median household incomes, median property values, and median population? Have we done any of that? Or are we just gonna throw a number up there and say, look, we're not spending as much as Cherokee County or Gilmer County, where property values are higher, median incomes are higher. So, what's the true number look like?
It depends on what your median that you use. Now, what you're referencing to there is that we are income spent per child, the latest, because 2023 is not out yet. It was, we spent about $9,100 per child. That ranks 155 out of 108 districts. 1 mil of property tax in Murray County brings in $1.1 million. A mil of property tax in Gilmer County brings in $2.1 million. Brings in much more, and so forth, and Catoosa County and so forth. When you look at equalization, which is what you're kind of referring to there.
I'm not asking for equalization, I'm asking for normalization. There's a difference.
Well, normally, where we rank in relation to the value that what we have spent versus our poverty rate and everything, we are somewhere, I mean, I don't know the latest number, but we are somewhere around 128 out of 181.
May I ask one more question? Would we even be at this meeting if it were not for the expansion of the high school here?
No, this is about the millage rate and.
Yeah, but I mean, would we be talking about having to raise it if it was not for the expansion?
The expansion over there is not paid for by the millage rate. It has nothing, it's paid with SPOS money.
100%.
100%. Does anyone have anything else?
Let's take it on down the line.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I lost track.
Your turn.
Okay. I took in consideration that, we're one of the lowest millage rates in the area, it's certainly in line. I took in consideration that we're, cost per child to educate is, like we just discussed, is one of the lowest in the state. We've made it 15 and a half for 22 years, we've managed within those funds, we've been good stewards of it for 22 years. Your homes are overvalued right now, that's gotta come down. So when your home values come down, then you'll be taxed less, and that's coming.
When the home value.
Schools are not immune to inflation.
I understand that.
In our
I ain't never had it come down.
If you're buying a car over here and it's come out cheaper, are you gonna go across the line and do it, or you gonna buy it over here, or you gonna just go over and pay more for it, cause somebody else is paying more?
To finish, schools are not immune to inflation. And there's a need in the budget to give these kids what they need to buy more curriculum and things to support these kids, this coming year. And I'm gonna vote for the kids every time. Every time I'm gonna back the kids and the teachers, but with the taxpayers in mind. Now, like I said, these homes, people are buying homes way for more than they're worth. That cannot last, it will not stand, and it will come down, and when it does, it'll be like, it'll come down, your taxes will come down. So that 15 and a half, if we dropped it to 14 and a half this year, then when you go back up, you would have to go back up to fill that gap of money that you're gonna.
That's what we're asking for.
That's what we're.
That's exactly what everybody here is asking you to do.
He don't say what he.
So if we get this other one, which I know we are, everybody's mind is made up before you came in, it's made up before we had the last one meeting, got a set rate. But, so if we get this $1 million by this increase, are we gonna put that, except for the students, So does that mean I can expect when I go into an elementary school that I can go in there and see all these interventionists I used to see when I worked?
Is that where the
Are we
money's
gonna
going?
spend that money for those kids, or is that money going to pay different salaries and do this and that? Are we going to put it in teacher salaries? Are we gonna hire more interventionists? Because we lost an interventionist in all of our elementary schools this year. And we also, not only did we have some interventionists there last year, we had some parapros that were hired to go in there and help. We lost those. So we lost our 2 first-grade parapros that we had, and we lost an interventionist in the elementary schools. Are we gonna put those back? Are we gonna
Is that
hire
what
our
the money's
parapros back through the county and give them some benefits? Are we gonna hire them and give them benefits and give them time off? Because right now, we don't hire our parapros through the Murray school system, we hire them through ESS. They have 0 benefits, they do not get any time paid days off or anything else. Are we gonna bring those things back? Because what kind of parapros are we gonna get that's gonna be consistent, that's gonna go in and work for $900 a month and get no benefits whatsoever? It's gonna be a constant turnover that's gonna affect our kindergarten kids, our pre-K kids, and our ESS kids, which are our special ed kids. Are we gonna get those things back if you go along and increase the millage rate, or, excuse me, not increase the millage rate, keep it the same, but go along with the inflationary tax rate?
Connie, and I hear what you're saying, and you're saying that the rate values of properties are gonna decrease, may or may not.
May or may
okay?
not.
But the thing about it is, okay, if they decrease, okay, and that's when y'all are gonna come back again and say, oh, now we gotta raise the millage rate because your expenses. I mean, it's like it is.
It hadn't been done in 22 years.
Hey,
It ain't done it in 20 years, but tell me the truth now.
oh,
I mean,
My
no,
taxes
no,
are
I'm
up
talking.
year.
I'm
Yeah,
talking. Listen,
Nah, seriously, about the 3rd time, let Randy finish, then Aaron, you can go. Let's
all I'm saying is I agree 100% with what you're saying about the property rates may drop. But what I'm telling you is, from a business standpoint, y'all's business expense is gonna keep increasing. So tell me explain to me, if the rates are gonna drop, tell me how you're gonna make up the difference with your increased cost that's gonna continue. Because just like you said, you're exactly right. Health insurance, all those things are gonna continue to go. And everything, and what I'm telling you, to me, that's where I'm worried, because it's just gonna continue to go. The rates are, the tax is gonna continue to go up. And that's where I was going the other day, about finding other avenues with all the different things. And I don't disagree with you, I'm not arguing with you. And again, all I'm saying is, you guys are the decision makers. You know, and you know, whenever you say you talk to 2 people, or you talk to 3 people, or whatever, I mean, and I guess I can't sit here and I'm thinking, so those 2 or 3 people swayed your decision to make the decisions you made to vote for this thing? I mean, it seems to me like it's more of a personal decision. And that's just my opinion. And I didn't mean to interrupt you.
let's see. That's where the 2016, I mean, you see where it failed.
I can't see it, but I'll take your word for it. That's all right, I'll take your word for it.
On the right side.
It went down,
Right there.
peaked out. There we go. Peaked out
That
at
helps.
14.5 and went all the way down to 10. The millage stayed the same. And I wouldn't, let's see.
What was a teacher's salary in those years with a doctorate degree versus not?
It's
Just out of curiosity.
Just, I can tell you that. From 2007 to 2023, teacher salaries are 18% higher.
Wasn't there less students in those years
No,
versus now?
no. Less students then?
I mean, there's less students, yeah, I got it back, yeah. And you want more money than what we had then.
Well, you run a yarn mill, right? When you're running, you run 168 hours full?
Yes.
What happens when you run 150 hours full?
You make less.
You make less, and your cost per pound goes up.
Not necessarily, only if you keep the labor there.
Yeah, but you got costs that you can't get rid of.
If-
Your salary,
So yeah, so indirect labor would increase if I have to reduce my 168-hour work week to 156.
I mean,
Based off what you just said, oh, you've already done away with all the indirect labor, you've done away with all the parapros, you've done away with all the other teachers' positions, and correct me if I'm wrong, each school not supposed to get like $50,000 for just general supplies? How many schools got that this year?
it depends. In the past 3 years, we've spent in excess of, what's the total?
About 2.4 million to the school.
Okay, out of 2.4 million, why is it that they all time, the schools, each individual school, I commend these teachers, I commend these principals, constantly fundraising. Where's all the, if you get that $2.4 million, constantly fundraising, constantly doing everything they can to raise funds to buy just general supplies. We got problems. I don't know how you manage your budget at your house, but we got problems. And you talk about you gonna vote every time for the teachers, but for the students. I commend that. But the problem is, record shows, since y'all been in here, the numbers are going down. And you can throw money at anything you want to, Conrad, but that ain't gonna fix the problem. And you know it and I know it.
The school systems have had some improvements.
We didn't need no new library. Kids ain't even got books. We got a library full of books. That's a waste of money. It's mismanagement. Managing
We
money.
had built a new library.
Who's down there?
We didn't have the county.
That's county.
County should.
And you talking about, I agree with him, the Chromebooks and all that. How many of those kids brings a Chromebook home every night? Brings it home every night, that Chromebook.
Home,
Yes.
it's in the book bag.
Huh?
It's in the book bag every night. My kid doesn't use that at school.
Well, I
Yes.
think it's, if you're talking about the difference between elementary school, as an elementary school teacher, I would not send a Chromebook at home, because probably wouldn't get it back, or if I got it back, it might be out in pieces.
Well, and I agree with that. But they ain't sending books home with them neither.
They don't have it. They have it.
We got problems.
Now, my child's in 6th grade at Coker, and he has books, like, we have the math book and an ELA book that he brings home every night in his book bag, and that's how it's like pull-out worksheets, but it's also they can keep in there, and so we do have books. Now, I don't know about the younger grades having actual books, but the 6th grade and 7th grade, I do know they have books.
You know,
I mean, they're thick, it's like weighs down a book bag thick.
dollar means they all that is irrelevant to me. Our schools are failing. Our community's failing. Our schools dictate what industry comes here, who moves here, the whole 9 yards. The education system does it. And you up there, not him, it ain't his fault. Y'all are his boss. It's your fault.
I wanna make the statement one more time. There are two factions of people in here. There are those that can't afford the tax increase, those that can't. The ones that are here because they can't afford the tax increase are giving you a vote of no confidence.
Yes.
Tanner, let's hear your response and why.
Well, I'm gonna start out by saying that I appreciate everybody coming, that's what this building's big for, and what it's meant to do is draw a crowd where we can hear everybody's input. We're here. And I'm gonna, when this is over, I'm gonna respect everybody's decision up here, whether it goes in line with mine or not. The week leading up to our last meeting, and I guess I'm maybe the easiest one to find up here because of my business. I have people coming in all day, every day, and phone ringing all day, every day. And it was people from Ramhurst and other districts, but when I signed up, I think I told them in here when I had to stand up and talk that I was here for the teachers, taxpayers, and the students. And my wife's a teacher, and I'm all for the teachers and the students, but I'm also here for the taxpayers. And 100% of conversations I had over, it seemed like 100 people, whether it's on the phone or in person, 100% of the people I talked to were in favor of rolling millage rate back, even if it was 0.5%.
so I feel like it's my duty to listen to my constituents if it's 100% especially. And that's why I made the decision to figure out that.
I'm proud of you, Tanner.
Proud of you.
Anybody else? Well, I've got one more thing that I'm gonna say, and, you know, we talk about, we do have areas to improve in our schools. But when someone says our schools are failing, that is incorrect. And you can hold, you look at the test scores as a whole, and you average from third grade ELA to math to all the way through, and you average those in, and where we rank, if you lumped all that together, would we be last in our RESA district? We might be. When I took this job in 2018, we was last. That's where we were. That's where we were in 2018. We were last, right where we are now. And I've got a lot of good principals, worked with a lot of good school board members, and we have spent some money on curriculum. It's all gone to the schools. And I can tell you right now that we're spending more money at every school than we have ever spent before. And if you look at, if you're last, you've gotta run faster than the state to catch up. And I'm gonna say it whether it has to do with the millage rate or not, because I'm proud of all of our principals and the school board and the things that we have worked for. If you look right there in green, you can see where we have tracked and where we have improved. And where we have improved according to the state, according to our RESA. And the last meeting we were here, a lot of people didn't wanna hear it because I had it just on my Excel spreadsheet. But Tim has put it, you know, right there and compared us and lumped about different school systems in where we are. And they could do a much more eloquent job than I could because they prepared the sheet. But I will tell you right now, in every single area, whatever sheet you're looking at, and this information right here was taken from the same information that you've got. And if you wanna look from third grade ELA all the way up through high school, in every area where it's green, we have gained our percentage of increase in growth year over year is higher than the state of Georgia. And that's what it's gonna take is several years to improve to catch them. You're not gonna do it overnight. We have the only two areas that we have not grown faster than the state was in fourth grade ELA and in eighth grade, is eighth grade something?
Scroll down.
I'm not a good scroller like I'm a mouse guy. Eighth grade, is it eighth grade science? Eighth grade science, all right, eighth grade science. Those are the only two areas that we have not outpaced the state in our gain. And our goal is to be better than the state average, and that's what we're gonna do. When I was superintendent, we had two schools that were on the needs improvement list, Coker and Eton, and then Pleasant Valley was on the CSI list. So, since then, this past year, Coker came off of it, so did Eton, and this past year, Eton grew at a rate and was recognized that their growth was exceptionally high. So, we have no schools on the needs improvement list that were here when I became superintendent, and they have grown. And we will continue to grow. And I'm proud as hell of every single principal that we've worked with. And we're gonna continue to grow.
I'm proud of those teachers.
And I'm proud, I was about to say, wait a minute, now I'm talking, I didn't talk with anybody else.
I raised my hand.
I'm proud of the teachers and of the principals and everybody from the school board to the central office that's worked to get that improvement. And it's taken everybody, and we have grown. So our school system, to make a blatant statement that our school system is failing, is inaccurate.
In 2018, it was showing on the graph here, put out by the state, that the test scores, and we're talking about science, you said science, I'm looking at Murray County only. It was a lot higher than what they are now, still.
In 2000, and what did we just say? The science, we outpaced the state in every area. You look at sixth grade math, we were the highest in the region.
Steve, I want your honest opinion. If we roll it back just a little bit, there's no way that the school board can manage. I mean, we're gonna fail. You're saying, can you not manage just that much without rolling it back just a little? Can y'all not come up with the money and manage it?
Well, here's my answer to that. Like you said, our millage rate and what we get per meal, you've gotta take into a lot of factors. Where our rate is and the amount that you get per meal. We get $1.1 million per meal, which is less than anybody around us. Our rate is still lower than a lot of other districts such as Whitfield. We're a tick higher than Catoosa, so you got to factor all that in.
I do.
And I know what's coming next year. We still have health insurance, we've got to support the teachers, the TRS, so that the rate can stay the same. The increases that are coming, we are spending more this year to improve our, in our budget, we're spending $2.1 million more than, so our reserve that Mr. Dunn talked about, our reserve is going down. At the end of the year, we expect it to be about what, Kathy? $2.5 million less than it is right now?
Yes.
$2.5 million less because of what we're spending at the school level. And we know that next year, to keep things at the school, because we've got an SRO in every school that we didn't used to have, that costs money. We know that we have certain programs that were continued at the school level that was instituted since COVID, such as elementary art. We have bilingual receptionists at each school. To continue all of those things going forward is gonna cost money. And that is why we anticipate, we hope we can keep most of those things. And that is why we don't want to, that is my opinion, to not roll it back, but to keep it the same, but to pay for those things that are at the school level, that will help the schools. And for anyone to say that anyone is afraid to complain if they were a teacher or whatever, I've heard that one for as long as I've
Maybe you need to listen.
I have listened.
Because let me tell you
And
something.
no, sir, now I'm talking, now you let, I'm letting everybody
You
else
don't
talk.
want me to talk because you don't wanna hear what I have to say.
I will hear whatever you have to say.
You can speak after me.
Me and you're talking, so
But
so no.
nobody is afraid, there's nothing about fear to come.
Will you explain that you meet with the teachers at each school at the beginning of the year, every single school?
I meet with the teachers every year. At the end of the year.
Your grandmother, Lisa, come here, just one second. Your grandmother fought beside my daddy.
I know.
Your mother, your mother and daddy,
And you, let me tell
your
you.
mom and daddy,
What did I tell you?
Nell Keener, we fought for what was right for this county.
Wait, I'm gonna tell you, I
Your
told
grandmother
Steve.
fought like
I
one
told-
thing with us,
Listen,
her
I'm
mother
gonna
and
tell
daddy.
you, I know exactly what you did, and I told
So
Steve.
what's right? That's what we fight for.
Oh, no.
Hey, we've got Mr. Walters and the gentleman in the
Now,
back.
this is America.
I know. Danny, you can speak
There's
a
me and
minute.
him, I'm just saying, you're saying no, that's all I wanna know, you're saying no, there's no way you can do it.
I'm saying because I know what's coming.
Coming, so no.
That'll be my recommendation to the board.
Baby Keener is a fighter.
Thank you.
So, I'm really glad to hear you say in a public forum how proud you are of our principals and our teachers. Because the conversations I have had with multiple administrators and teachers within our system, would say that you've never told that to them. Randy made the statement that people are afraid to come and say something for fear of losing their job. That is a very real problem. It indicates that we have a toxic workplace. Emails sent requiring administrators to be at this meeting.
I did.
Why? To put them on display?
No, I wanted them to see what, because I have a lot of time in budget meetings when we're talking about why don't you just raise the millage rate and we can pay for that. And I want them to see what the millage rate goes for.
That is
I do.
not at all
I
in
do.
line
I
with
do.
what your
I do.
people that work for you.
Well, they're sitting
That's
out here,
it.
every principal's here.
You're
sitting
right,
out
and
there.
they are afraid to speak up.
No,
Kelly.
they're not. Miss Allen just came in and asked.
I'm not gonna call names. I'm not gonna call
Miss
names.
Allen, will you please stand
Miss
up?
Allen, will you please
Yeah,
stand
she
up?
asked
She
to
told me
talk.
to speak.
Yeah, she
Bite
asked
my
to talk.
tongue for now. I have 3 boys that have gone through the school system. My nephew was star student. We have family that has gone to prestigious universities. I went to UGA, product of Murray County High School 99. We're preparing kids. We're doing extra every day. We don't have funds for extra things. You're right, but I'll stay after school and write a hydroponics grant. Got a 10,000 new hydroponics grant. Every kid in my school is gonna know how to provide their own food for their own families. So we are doing extra. And this up here, I'm proud. My teachers are proud. Every year at convocation, Mr. Lothridge gets up and the first thing out of his mouth is the growth and how he's proud of us. And I have never felt anything but support from him. I didn't always get the jobs I wanted to get. It took a minute. He still supported me, came and talked to me face to face, told me what I needed to do better. And I appreciate his honesty. I would just be shocked. And if some of y'all know a teacher that's afraid of me, I would love for you to come talk to me about it, because I'm not gonna stand for that. Some of y'all have kids at my school. You know the kind of tone that we set. We're positive. We believe in these kids. Some of them don't have washing machines at home. We have to do things. And what's gonna happen if we lower it? Then we're all gonna be crucified when we ask for it to go back up when we need more things. So I love what Conrad said. Every time, yes, did my taxes go up a lot? Absolutely. I built onto my house, terrible timing. My taxes went way up. Okay, but you know what? Like, what I see it going toward the kids, I can pay those taxes, and I'm thankful for that. Every night when I lay my head on the pillow, I am thankful for that. Some of these kids, we're their only chance. We're the only way their hoodie gets washed. We're their only meal that day. So, they can't pay. Some of us in this room can pay. Let's do what's right for these kids so this growth can continue.
Well, I'd like to speak if I can. I've spoken with a lot of people in different schools, and I've not had one that said, please don't say my name, please don't say this or that, because they are afraid. And as a teacher, a retired teacher now, I would have never spoken out 10 years ago. I wouldn't have spoken out 5 or 6 years ago, because I was still employed in the Murray County School System. I didn't feel like I could speak out, and there are plenty of people that still feel like they can't speak out. I mean, how many of you would speak out against your boss at your job? You're not going to. Even though you know, they may not have said anything directly to you, you're just not going to.
But this is about the millage rate, and I
And
can
about the
guarantee my
millage
teachers
rate?
are for the millage rate.
I can guarantee you, if you try to make a living off doing any kind of rental property, you're not for this millage rate. If you're paying millage, taxes on one property, one house, it doesn't affect you that much. But if you'll look, you'll see every year it's going up a couple of $100. And if you'll keep looking, it keeps going up and going up. But if you own rental property and you try to make a living off of it, you better start selling it. Like, we've sold some, we can't make anything. By the time we do the maintenance on it, by the time we pay the insurance that continues to go up, and by the time we get a tax increase every year, there's nothing left for us. So it's not just about paying taxes on one house. It's about paying taxes on rental property, and you can't afford to keep it with the way these taxes are continuing to go up.
Let me say one thing, then come back to you, Danny, since you were speaking
Oh,
earlier.
I was talking to Lisa. Her grandmother stood with my daddy, no Venus mama, daddy, Grant Jones, and a bunch of people, and they thought, well, what's right? What's right? No, she didn't. She was a fighter.
I agree with
She was a
you. But
fighter,
I told
and
Steve we'd be on opposite sides.
My grandmother and I would be on opposite
Yes,
sides.
she was, she was a fighter, and you know, we're just trying to fight for what's right, we don't wanna lose, we're getting older, I'm 57-year-old, I'm the youngest of the kids, my sister's youngest. But anyway, my brother's just retired about it, but anyway, we wanna keep our property. We don't want a tax increase to make us have to sell our property after we get on social security.
That's right.
Who does?
I agree.
I mean, you know, you get older, you start having health problems. You start having all kind of problems. You ain't able to work. You get out there and try to bow up on a job like we've done all our life, it's hard. If you don't believe it, come right down on 411. It's not an easy job. And nobody's got an easy job. But when you get older, you're gonna have health problems. You're gonna have all kind of problems. And your money's going that way. What are you gonna do? You wanna sell your farm, Steve? You wanna sell your farm, your daddy, your family's on it for 100 years or longer, right?
About 150.
You told me you'd never sell it, because it was a lie. And then you stood right there. And you told me, Danny Reed, he said, I'm probably gonna have to go up from their taxes next year too. You told me that right there at that podium.
What I said was, I said, if they went, I didn't say I was
Yes,
going to.
you said, we're probably gonna have a tax increase for next year, Steve.
I said, depending on what happens with the inflationary growth, I don't know, I don't have anything, I have no control.
I did not either.
But I told you right now, but you said, when I got on when I quit working for the school system, I'd be on side, and I told you that I would never be at a millage rate.
You said you maybe eat your words, is what you told me.
I said, if I ever come to one, you can call me out publicly.
That's right.
That's exactly what I said, if I ever come to one.
You said you eat your words too.
That's what I said, that's right. But I will say this, when we talk about, senior citizens, and, I do know that's an issue, and because of the inflationary growth, I've talked, and I have done something that, what I could to bring about change in that area, because we know inflationary growth has gone up, and where the homestead exemption is for senior citizens is not high as where it should be in relative to the growth that has been. And that comes with local legislation, at the state legislature, and I've already talked to Jason Ridley, and I'm gonna work with him to help to bring that about, because I do think the, senior citizen exemption needs to be higher for where people's values are. So, I'm gonna do what I can, like you said, I'm gonna do what I can to help get that higher, because it should be.
It's gotta be.
It should be, and I'm gonna do what I can to help bring that about, so that senior citizens' property, that more is sheltered, so. Anybody else?
I guess I'll talk. Well, I've been hearing about all these problems, all this pain. Me, I'm a property owner, I'm disabled, I get by on $900 a month. I have a TBI, got 2 bad knees, a lesion on my brain, and really bad short-term memory. Now, it took me half a year last year to pay my property taxes, because when my bills are all paid, I have literally maybe $25 at the end of the month. So, yeah, that don't work too good for me. That's the only reason why I'm here, to complain like the rest of you.
Well, that's good.
All
There's
right.
a lot of people like that.
Anybody else?
Anything else?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Motion by Kelly, second by Brenda, all in favor. We are adjourned this meeting. All right, now need to call it order for the, village rate vote, this meeting. You've got a copy of the agenda as well on it. I got a motion from Brenda to approve the agenda. Second by Kelly, all in favor. It is approved. Want to pledge inspiration?
You can.
All right, we do have on here the pledge of inspiration, so I'm gonna ask you to please stand.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation,
justice for all.
Let's all bow our heads. Dear gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you, Lord, for this blessed day that you've given us. We thank you, Lord, for everyone that has come to this meeting to share their concerns, their opinions. Lord, I just pray, God, Lord, that we have different opinions. But God, as when we adjourn this meeting, that we can go forward and be civil, Lord, to each other. We can respect the decisions and the opinions that were made. And Lord, let us all be on the same page, Lord, that we can just do what's best for the school system, that we can see our kids grow and improve, we can see our teachers and our faculties grow, Lord, to be the best that they can be. And Lord, I just pray that you be with each and every one of us, Lord, and our families. Lord, help us through the good times and help us through the hard times. We ask all these things in your name. Amen. Next thing, heard the discussion on millage rate. So I need and it has been recommended that we, keep the millage rate as it's been for the last 20+ years at 15.5. Do I have a motion that we keep the millage rate at 15.5?
So moved.
Motion by Kelly. Second. Second by Dwayne, all in favor? Any opposed? Need a motion?
Make a motion, we adjourn.
Motion by Brenda, second by Aaron, all in favor? We are adjourned.
Hey,